So, and the great. And the good thing about this is that we send out the recording to everybody. So even people who couldn't be here will get the recording. And so that's a good transparency that we have. And welcome everyone. It's our monthly meeting for the umbrella of all the subcommittees of the Advancing Human Rights Issues Committee. And I'd like to welcome everyone and just give maybe 2-minute check-in. I'm Donna Peel here on Cape Cod, land of the Wampanoag, and we took all our plants in today, so it's a wonderful thing. We don't have to worry about frost anymore. And Pat, would you like to go next?
It really was foggy today, and I have I'm in physical therapy for my knee, and I have a brace though that I got fitted for last week that I've been wearing almost constantly because I don't have any pain when I use it, so it's a good thing. Anyway, that's good. That's it for me.
And Pat's here on Cape Cod with me. Yeah. She's my partner in crime here. So,
yeah, right.
And who do we have next? George?
Where's George?
Hello, forgive me for not coming off camera. As Samantha will attest to, I'm in my pajamas. I had a good weekend. I'm super tired because I got to see both my brothers, which was awesome, in Atlanta. But my brother's Wi-Fi, I couldn't get connected to his Wi-Fi. So even though I was there for a conference, which I went to Friday and Saturday, I still depended on being able to get on Wi-Fi every day, at least to check email and not get behind. So I came home early yesterday because I thought, well, I can catch up. So I did get several hours of work done yesterday, but still have started the week behind. And I'm trying to not be overly frantic or overly stressed out, which is not the way to start a week. But I'm glad to be here and good to see your faces.
And thanks for all your help with the Zoom, George, setting it up. Samantha?
Hey, everybody. I don't think I was at the last meeting. I'm not sure if I was at the one before that. I've been really busy with the Get Out the Vote efforts in the Southern Piedmont Circle and the Southern Piedmont branch. We had a huge event this weekend and I'm utterly exhausted, but push on until keep going. So good to see everybody.
That's so great. Tina? Hi.
Yes, I think of you, Samantha, as we are dealing with another Senate race here, and I get all the requests following on Sherry Beasley and hoping all goes well there. Yeah, busy is one word. Good to sit with you. One thing that is weighing heavy on me right now, in addition to the election, is learning. My youngest daughter, who's 14, has been diagnosed with a kind of a genetic disorder that can manifest in a lot of different ways, and we're learning about it. And we're both extremely grateful that she doesn't have a heart condition associated with it, and also a little overwhelmed by learning about all the things that we need to do and connect with. Grateful that there's a support system out there and that we're near Children's Hospital, which is one of the world leaders for it. And, you know, it's daunting and, but also, you know, you feel how lucky you are. So a bit of both.
Thank
And,
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, boy.
Joan, you're above Tina on my screen.
Okay, I'm sending you a hug, Tina. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you and yours are in good shape to learn to cope too. So more than some of the rest of us. Thank you for sharing. Let's see. I had I'm in the San Jose, California area, and I had a busy weekend, whatever kind of thing, with two nieces visiting from Hawaii who were here for a special hula performance that was on Saturday, but we got to see them on Friday, and they got us back to the Municipal Rose Garden in San Jose, which is a half of an entire block and is massively loaded with many different kinds of roses in large bashes of large beds, let's say. Probably makes sense. So, and then today we've took a friend of ours who likes roses, grows roses, and she had not been to the municipal garden, to the rose garden, even though she has lived here for a long time. So we were able to take her there, and she was able to enjoy them. And so that was the good stuff. Thank you.
Thanks, Joan. Diane, she's listening to this and the economic
right.
program. Oh, there she is.
Yeah, so I have that in the background going on because in Economy of Our Own, I took the public banking course and I like it, but it's being recorded too. But anyway, I was in Baltimore for a few days recently, and it's really sad. It's in bad shape, and it's like the Inner Harbor that used to be so bustling. It seems like it's dying.
I don't know what that sound is. Okay.
Oh, but maybe I should turn off the here. I'll turn off the there. Is that better?
Yeah, it had stopped.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
sorry, that was the other program.
Okay.
So I was saying that Baltimore is really in bad shape, it seemed to me.
Huh.
And it's just very concerning how our country's going. So.
Yeah. Thanks, Diane.
Mhm.
And Barbara,
Yes,
would you like to check in?
I would actually. I was trying to get the typing on the agenda larger so that I could read it, and I just did. This is so exciting. I am looking forward to this meeting. Glad to be here, and thank you all very much for the work you're doing.
Thank you, Barbara. Philip Cole, are you able to speak with us?
Yes, hello. I happy to be at this meeting. I'm enjoying my back to work days after a 30-day vacation. And it's nice to get back to normal hours and on this side of the date line and enjoying great weather. And trying to keep up with the politics. Our knucklehead governor had a debate yesterday with his lone contender, and it was quite amazing. He claims he's not running for president, but we'll see. He's an idiot. So let's see how it goes.
Now, he used to be my mayor.
That's
I
what
can
he
actually say that out loud, only cringing slightly.
that's when he proved his lunacy.
Yes.
Okay.
From a long line of lunatic mayors, though.
Excluding the one great mayor, Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Willie Brown Jr., the most powerful Black politician in America.
Well, that's wonderful. California checked in, and I don't know who's the 919 caller that we have. This-
Hi, that's me. That's Jennifer Bailey.
Jennifer Bailey.
It's
Oh,
good to be
hi.
Yes. Hi. It's good to have an opportunity to try and catch up. And Tina, I am sending you positive energy, and I hope all works out well for you. In terms of where I reside, I'm in North Carolina, and I currently am fortunate enough to reside on my land of my ancestors, largely
Oh.
Cherokee.
What did you say?
Thanks.
What did you say about that? What did you say at the last?
Well, I am a person of European descent as well as Native American. So I'm
Okay.
fortunate enough to reside on the land of my ancestors.
Oh,
So
yes.
anyway,
I thought you
thank
said
you.
something
Good to
about
be here.
raising turkeys, and I just didn't know if that was what you said.
No.
I think
Cherokee.
the word
No,
was
no. Isn't that
Cherokee.
amazing how Zoom can interpret speech? It never ceases to amuse me.
Okay, well, I'll remember that you're not a turkey farmer, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you. I probably would be allergic. But anyway, good to be here. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And
Thank you
Teresa
so
was
much.
here for a while. Is she still here?
I think she signed off temporarily at least, but we can go ahead and start our meeting. Tina, would you like to go first, sharing about Borders and Migration Justice
Okay.
Subcommittee?
Okay, yep, I find my little note there. So two big things on our list right now, and we're won't go into the weeds of where we are with them, but we are working on a bilingual brochure and discussing the best way to move that forward based on cost, how long each way would take, and coordinating with the membership committee. So that's on our agenda. We're also with Melissa's assistance and guidance, going to be inviting some of the members or leaders of the Mexico section of WILF to a meeting with our subcommittee. That's in the planning stages. We basically have hopes of discussing, our shared concerns of border and militarization of the border. We
You
have
want to
had
throw tomatoes at me? You want to
We've
throw
had a
those at
little
me?
difficulty meeting. I think we're picking wrong times to meet, and so we're gonna try again. And then a bonus, I'll just throw in a bonus, which isn't exactly the whole committee, but our and on behalf of our WILF branch, and maybe I'll include it on behalf of it depends on how I get it written. Our local Philadelphia Inquirer paper, the large paper in Philadelphia, has just published an article in Sunday's paper about how the immigrant community is disappointed in the Biden administration in terms of actions that they've taken and continued, which are, of course, are things that we have been discussing in our subcommittee. And they did quote a member of a wonderful immigrant organization called Shutdown Berks, which our branch has supported. Shutdown Berks County Detention Center, for short, it's called Shutdown Berks. And so I'm gonna, draft a letter to the editor thanking them for, talking to Shutdown Berks and just kind of stating the WILF position, because that would be another way to, get our name out. So I'm going to be working on that. So that's my bonus. I'm throwing it in just because it has to do with immigration, but it's not the whole committee. Although, maybe I'll send it out and see what the committee can help me edit it. But though that's our report.
Thank you, Tina. George, did you have your hand up? George?
I had a question for Tina.
Okay.
I know from reading the emails that one of the concerns is the cost of some of the translation stuff with the brochure.
Mhm.
Not the
I don't know the next due date for a mini grant.
Mm.
but a mini grant is, as a committee, we're eligible to apply. That's all.
Sure. Thank you for reminding us of that. I think that's worth considering it. I'll put it on the agenda.
That's really great. That's great. Could I ask you, with the brochure, is that a brochure about the subcommittee, or is it a brochure to hand out to people
So,
along the border?
yes. So what it is our it is a translation into Spanish of our current membership brochure, which is 8 pages front and back once it's all folded. And give credit to Adrian, who has translated it. And so now that that has happened, we get into the particulars. So because Spanish is lengthier than English, it's, for example, there's different ways we can go. We can just translate it and stick it into it as an insert into our regular membership brochure. That would be the least expensive way, and also quick. There's also a thought of, okay, so take that and maybe try to make a new bilingual brochure with the pictures from our regular membership brochure and the words, in Spanish. Or we could make so that would be a Spanish language brochure with the same photos. Then of course we could combine them, which would mean, that would be a lot of reworking, because obviously having a lot more words would change the look of the brochure. So, basically now we're at a, decision point where we need to figure out now that we've got this initial translation approved by Spanish speakers and WILF members, which direction are we going to go? And so, no, it is not a brochure specifically to the border and migration justice. It is a way to reach out to Spanish speakers to tell them about WILF.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Oh, that's great.
This is I don't get any credit. This is a wish that is coming into fruition that was started from Teresa Elamine, and she's been spearheading and guiding it. And this is where we are now with it.
Thank you so much, Tina. We've had Ashley Carrington has joined us. Hi, Ashley. We've done.
Hello, I'm
would you
here.
like-
I'm driving. Good to see everyone.
Would you like to do a brief check-in? We've all done that.
Ashley Carrington, she, they, Aya, Raleigh, North Carolina, Triangle Branch. Good to see everyone.
Good to see you, Ashley. Ashley did the graphics for the voting rights toolkit, and all the really great work. It's being posted finally on the not finally, but on the national website. So, George, would you like to share about reparations or ending mass incarceration and the death penalty? Are you prepared to?
I am not prepared.
You're not.
I regret that Teresa sent me a text that she's having internet issues.
Okay.
I do know that those of us who are active with ending mass incarceration and the death penalty are working to get some local initiatives around ending mass incarceration. I also know that on December 10th, it's a Saturday, from 9 Eastern to 10:30 Eastern online, there will be the 2nd annual Fannie Lou Hamer Human Rights Conference. And for that first session, we'll be focused on the TP&W. So that's, Congressional Black Caucus members and people we know who are associated with WILF that care about and know about the TP&W. Vicki Elson and Patrick O'Neill and Rebecca Irby will be speaking and moderating. But in the afternoon, live in Columbus and streamed online will be an Ending Mass Incarceration expungement event on the ground in Columbus, Georgia, at a community church, the 4th Street Missionary Baptist Church, which is Columbus. Y'all know Ebenezer Baptist in Atlanta, and famous for, being the church. So in Columbus, 4th Street Missionary Baptist has that reputation. And it will host starting at 11 o'clock. People will come, have lunch, and starting at 11:30, 11:45, there will be a expungement event where people who have misdemeanors and felonies that are nonviolent will be able to have their records expunged with the help of like the DA. And
Wow.
I know it's a really amazing event. I'm really
Mm.
sorry Teresa's not here to tell you more about it. But that's
Well-
in process. That's December 10th.
Okay.
And UN Decade of People of African Descent and Reparations has a meeting this Thursday at 2 in the afternoon. And I know that there are resolutions about reparations and initiatives to move towards reparations in many areas. Joan Goddard comes to those meetings, and California has taken some steps towards reparations that she reported on a couple of months ago. And I know that also in Columbus, Georgia, the Fannie Lou Hamer branch has made some real inroads towards working with the Muskogee County government to move towards reparations, starting with a resolution there. And I know we at the Southern Piedmont branch want to have a similar reparations package as to one that exists in Asheville, North Carolina, that I got to be part of in the beginning, but years ago in 2015 and 16, when I was working for the Bill of Rights Defense Committee. They started working on that in Asheville, North Carolina. And now they have reparations there. And I think Inglewood, Illinois are the only places right now that actually have passed reparations initiatives. So that's what I know. And no, it wasn't prepared, and it's not 25% as good as what Teresa would have done, but it's
Well,
better than nothing.
Thank you, George. I wanted
Lovely.
to add that two things that there was on October 6th, there was a PBS special on Fannie Lou Hamer. If anybody has PBS and can get into the PBS on demand, really great program on Fannie Lou Hamer. And then we have here on the Cape been working on some work, doing some work on the reparations, because New England is so, and especially Cape Cod, made so much money, the ship captains running
Right.
slaves and rum. So Pat O'Brien has had a speaker and can get her lined up to be on one of our next programs, talking about the Black Box and project and what's been going. She can tell a lot about the history of Cape Cod as far as exploitation.
I know, Donna, that Jennifer has something to say.
Oh, okay, great.
Yes, thank you. Very good work. I'm very impressed. I did want to ask you, how did you manage to initiate the expungement? It's a great way to avoid all of that garbage that goes into a record and stays there forever. So how did you go about doing that, George?
I wondered about that too. And about the President Biden expunging misdemeanor or low level. Has that impacted it?
Well, I didn't initiate it or make it happen. The brains behind this, all Teresa Elamine. What I've learned is being part of that process from an organization called the Georgia, I think, Justice Project. And there is a North Carolina organization that's not as strong, but in the same category. Basically, Jennifer, it begins with your DA, the local DA, whether county or city DA's office, and what are the things that qualify for expungement. There are a host of things, you know, almost all misdemeanors, some nonviolent felonies qualify for expungement. And you just have to go through the process of getting it expunged. But so I think anybody could go to a DA and say, how can we make this happen for the people in Greensboro or Winston-Salem or Charlotte or anywhere? And then you pull people together, you let the community know. Teresa was describing how they're going to get the word out. And you know, once people know it's possible, they'll show up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have some thoughts that come to mind on some people that would benefit from it. And I did some research on what the deal is, how the United States compares with other countries in terms of having more mass incarcerations. Basically, the United States has the lowest conviction rate, but how those numbers increase is that they have the longest prison terms.
Mhm.
So as more people are added, they don't come, others don't leave the prison. So that's why we have the highest mass incarceration rate. And I didn't know, and I thought that was an interesting fact to share with the group tonight. No comments or any thoughts about how to take that forward. I don't know if that's driven largely by ownership in private prisons or the development of that particular incarceration program or not. So that's just something I'm kind of throwing out there, and hopefully somebody will have some thoughts on that perhaps at a later point in time. So thank you for letting me know about how you could at least kick that off in terms of getting people's records expunged. And I was wondering, that sounds like it's more at a local level and not a federal level. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's your local DA.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Pat, did you have your hand up? You have to turn your microphone on.
Sorry. We are at the fellowship I belong to, is working on showing a film called Voices of Reentry. Have people heard about that film? But it is, what's his name? Kendi, is it Kendi? Has the BU Research Center on African American Research.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yes, and apparently there's it's about 600,000 released prisoners and their struggles to return to society. And so we're gonna show that either as one of our Sunday presentations or an other event. We're working on getting that film, to show. And I hadn't even known that it was out there. So I thought I better bring it to people's attention, and if you go to that BU website, Boston University, Ibram Kendi's Research Center has that film. So, and they are putting it out, and it has been also accepted in 2 film festivals so far. So it is getting something out there. That's it.
I could just add that in November, the Cape Cod members of Ending Mass Incarceration and the Death Penalty will be reporting on how that's going here in Massachusetts. Of course, we haven't had the death penalty in a long time, but we do have extensive incarceration, and we're going to be giving they have the prisoners working on the highways, picking up trash. We don't know, if they're paid or not, or if it's slave labor, but we're going to find out and report on what's happening in the North. So Thanks very much, George. I really appreciate that you did that. And of course, we have Barbara Nielsen to give us the lowdown. If anyone was listening to the program Friday night, Dee Murphy's program, Barbara was incredible. So here we go. Barbara, please share now.
Thank you. I am trying to see, am I allowed to share?
Yes.
All right, let me see if I can get this done here. Hold on a second.
Can she, George?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Am I sharing?
Yep.
Oh, cool. So, Dee had asked if I would talk to them in her domestic prisoners of war to her committee, which was an incredible experience for me because I was able to be in attendance at for the committee meeting and to hear what was shared by members of the committee, which was an extraordinary experience that moved me a lot. She asked me if I would talk primarily about CEDAW, but in the context of what the UN for Women Subcommittee of Advancing Human Rights is. And as many of you might know or remember, it's kind of a mishmash of the items that are in under the aegis of the UN. And what's on the screen right now talks about the 5 main areas of the UN, and there are little doves there: maintain international peace and security, protect human rights, deliver humanitarian aid, support sustainability, development, and climate action. And of course, mostly what we are about in WILF is protecting human rights. And I explained to the group that a lot of what we do is the Women, Peace, and Security agenda, which is actually one of the programs of WILF International called Peace Women. And 1325 is one of their big deals, UN Security Council 1325. And its progeny, as I keep saying, there are a bunch of Security Council resolutions after 1325 that deal with the Women, Peace, and Security agenda. And there's a lot of information on it. Back in the days when Pat still lived in Cambridge, actually, and Laura Roscoe and Nancy Munger were co-presidents, we had a website that was called JA 1325, and it was about the Women, Peace, and Security website, initiatives and programs. And there was also information that we worked on at that time about CEDAW. And we in UN for Women are also functioning in terms of focusing on CEDAW, which is the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. And it has 3 founding principles: non-discrimination, state obligation for substantive equality, and non-discrimination is integral to the concept of equality. And we also are dealing not only with equality, but with equity. I'm a big fan of the concept of equity, which is starting from the beginning on equal footing, as opposed to the way it's been handled at the United States national government level of talking about equality, which is making up for lost time, making women equal to what men have had all along. And so we've been doing some work on that. CEDAW is a convention that has been ratified by all of the member states of the UN except 6 member states. And there's a bad punchline here. The United States is one of those 6. And the other 5 are Iran, Palau. I'm surprised about Palau actually, but it's small. Somalia, Sudan, and Tonga. And then it's us. We're the only nation in the Western Hemisphere. We're the only, quote, civilized. We're the biggest industrial. We're the largest warmongering nation, and we haven't ratified CEDAW. There's a bunch of information about it. One of the coolest things about it that we can actually deal with in WILF at the branches level, and some of our branches have already, is we can participate in something called the Cities for CEDAW program, which came out of a panel at the annual Commission on the Status of Women meetings in New York City a number of years ago. San Francisco is the very first city and county in the nation to have a Commission on the Status of Women. And we also have a department on the status of women, and they don't sit on their laurels. They actually do a lot of work. And Los Angeles also has a commission on the status of women. And there are other cities around the country that do. And the Cities for CEDAW program is basically to do what the United States is not doing on the national level, and that is to get the basic tenets and support that comes with adopting CEDAW in place locally. And that is something that we can start as a project in WILF, and our committee or subcommittee would be the logical place to do it, since this is one of our areas. And several of us live in cities that have done work, and it doesn't have to be a city. It could be a county, it could be any one of a number of local forms of government, and of course a state could do it too, or a commonwealth, which would be fun. But so I went over this on the meeting, the DPOW meeting on Friday. I have circulated a version of this to our email listserv for the umbrella AHR. I did that this afternoon, and that's what we're doing. We have been kind of doing other things. People have been busy this summer. I'm hoping that within the next 30 days we will have a getting reacquainted meeting, and we'll go forward with regular meetings from then. So that is what I am bringing to you today, and I hope that makes sense.
Well, thank you. So you sent us that?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's great. Could I just ask, do we have any idea why the United States has not ratified this?
It's along the same lines of why we won't enact the ERA. There are people who insist that if we eliminate all forms of discrimination against women, the apple cart will be upset and men's rights will be damaged. Although Madeleine Albright was a big proponent, interestingly enough, and she is not a woman I would have thought of to do it. I have some literature that explains some of the background, although Wikipedia has some good stuff on it too. But it was a partisan issue, like many other issues. Phyllis Schlafly was, I'm sure, very influential with a lot of people. Why would women need that? We need protections, and not to be flung on the heap of humanity without special protections because we're so weak.
Right. Wow. Well, that's a lot to think about. Thank you so much.
You're
And
very
when you
welcome.
and Donna, when you say right, what you really mean is, yeah, that's wrong.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, thank you,
Well,
Joe.
it never gets remedied.
Oh, my goodness.
But this is one of those things where, in a sense, we might be able to start a sub rosa movement incrementally in local, in municipalities, in regional governments, and keep moving up until eventually some of the I don't want to say idiots in Congress, but that's really what how I think of them, would be really surprised that there are all these cities and counties for CDOT,
Right.
you know,
Wow.
so,
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
yeah.
This is a lot of food for thought, boy.
Yeah, yeah,
This is
and it
really
could be
good.
fun. I mean, it really could be fun. Yes, is it depressing? Yes, at my age, on the one hand, I kind of look back and think this is all we've done, and yet, a gazillion years ago, uh, things were different, and in my lifetime, things were different, and uh, you know. Men's permission is not necessary on a lot of things that a man's permission was in the 1970s. That, and I won't go any further than that. And that's not the same case today. Of course, governments won't let us do certain things, but um, there are a woman's right to stand on her own and be supported by the government is in fact larger today than it had been before in many places in the country, and that was not the case in the 1970s. So we have some hope.
Mhm. That's great. Hope. George, you have your hand up, and then Joan. I don't know who was first.
George was first.
Okay.
George was first.
Well, Barbara, what you shared reminded me of what I want to share with y'all is not a strictly Advancing Human Rights Committee report, but it connects to CDAW and we as WILF realizing our power. Okay, but I'm going to try to be brief because I'd like us to be done in an hour, and that's 14 minutes. So I'll
Right.
try to take 2.
Okay.
I hope y'all caught the No NATO webinar that was last week.
Yep.
It was awesome on the 18th. So glad to have been part of it, a small part, but part of it. And it came out of the No NATO working group, which began as a working group connected to disarm, but now is an independent working group. And I say that because Advancing Human Rights is a committee that Teresa and I are most active in as subcommittees and co-convening subcommittees. So if anyone needed to house us, it needs to be here. But No NATO is doing well and meeting and lots of good initiatives. But what reminded me of what you were talking about, Barbara, is we have a strategy chart for No NATO that is about doing education among branches so that in X number of branch cities, people are ready to take some kind of action around No NATO, a resolution, pressuring their elected officials, whatever they may decide to do. But that chart is about providing the education. So there are goals and strategic objectives and resources. And I think, Barbara, that CDAW could have a similar plan to get X number of branches or X number of cities and X number of branches to do blank, fill in the blank in terms of, the US doing the right thing sooner than later. That's all. That's about 2 minutes.
George, may I ask a question? What is the difference between no NATO and no to NATO?
Well, there's not a dramatic difference. Why we call the work group No NATO is because we collectively, I think we have an agreement among the working group that NATO has no need to exist at all. It should have ended.
Well, the reason I was asking the question is there's a whole bunch of liaisons or a lot of people working on no to NATO.
Yes.
If one were needed to amplify their voice, whereas there's no equity, if you will, at no NATO, at the no NATO.
Our
grouping of
webinar was a
class-
No to NATO webinar, not No NATO is the name of our working group. And one of the
Got it.
co-founders,
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
one of the co-founders of the No NATO International Group, Christine Karch, was one of our speakers last week. The recording is on, or should be on, the WILF US website. I went to look for it and couldn't find it, but I am told it's there.
Thanks, George.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Joan, you have your hand up?
Yeah, let's see. I'm thinking about all the things that George was talking about. Let's see. What I was thinking was that in a couple of our working groups, of our subcommittees, we have Teresa and George have organized getting those of us in each of the different geographic areas, cities, whatever, branches, to find out what's happening on the subject that's related to that subcommittee, and then to make a report at one of the monthly meetings. So that might be a way to approach it, because I know that there are, as Barbara I think alluded to, that there are CEDAW related activities by commissions on the status of women and other groups in a lot of cities, probably around the country. So
Yes.
that might be a way to organize the work to work against CEDAW and find out first what's already happening and how we can encourage WILF folks to participate or to start something if there isn't something going. Thanks.
Nielsen for the staff.
Sorry.
Barbara?
One of the reasons that your hand is still up, Joan, I think. One of the reasons that I wanted to make sure that people understood that we have Cities for CEDAW is because there isn't, as far as I'm concerned, there isn't a lot of reason for us to try to reinvent the wheel to do something independently. I think we can make a lot faster, more easy, and readily available contribution by finding Cities for CEDAW projects around the country to see what's close to us and how we can join in. And if there's nothing, then we can also learn from the Cities for CEDAW, because they have a national presence, to use their materials and stuff. So I think that's there for us, and could be a really good thing, and also could be an organizing thing. If some of our members where we don't have a branch wanted to do something, that could be a way to find like-minded people and go forward. I mean, that's way beyond the scope of what we're talking about now, but definitely it's there, and it's there's a lot of good information about it. Thanks.
Thank you, Barbara. Jennifer, did you have something?
I just wanted to ask the group a question in terms of, there's been discussion about preserving democracy in the United States, and it's a major concern globally that if the United States does not preserve its democratic processes, they will have severe consequences worldwide. Since Trump hasn't dropped out of the running yet, and has a history of inciting violence against the United States, the question becomes, and he's stated publicly that he intends to seek revenge on those who have fought against him. So what happens if Trump attempts a civil war, and who would NATO have a purpose at that point in time? Not knowing, of course, that that's not my favored pursuit, but just thinking in terms of the contingency. I don't know that anybody has an answer tonight or has even given this any thought, but it's a very odd question for a peace group to ask. At what point would NATO play a role in preserving democracy? Again, it's a question that's sort of blue sky, but I thought it was an interesting one to ask. So don't expect any discussion tonight on that one, or perhaps it's just doesn't have room here at all, but just, thinking about the election that's coming up.
Well, that'll go out in
I'll
our
email you
report.
some material, Jennifer, from our research materials that we have on the no NATO chart. There's some good stuff there that was produced by the US government, so you can catch up on your
And
reading.
does it speak to this issue that we're talking about, preserving democratic processes, when you have someone who is seeking a coup here in the U.S.?
It lets you know what their intentions are, and that is aligned with what you're asking. It's not a direct fit, but it's
Okay.
in the same neighborhood.
Great. I would like to, yeah, I'd love to see it. So if you'll point me in the right direction, that'd be great.
Well, thank you, everybody. I think that if no one has anything else to add, we're at 9 o'clock. And like Teresa always says, we love to have a meeting that's an hour long. Especially at the end of a long day for people here on the East Coast. Does anyone have any closing words, Tina?
Yes, when Pat was talking about the Voices of Reentry, thank you for putting the name of it in the chat, Pat. It reminded me of this article that came out in Washington Post about how few issues of after this, so many people were released from prison during the pandemic. There were very few there were like 17 people that were rearrested, and it was a huge release during the pandemic because they wanted to reduce the prison size. And I thought that was interesting and in line with what you're doing, Pat. So
I
just wanted
couldn't
to
read that. I went to read that article, but I couldn't read it because it was behind the paywall. You have to subscribe to the
will,
Washington Post. So
stick your I'm not sure I have your email. Can you stick your email in the chat and I'll gift it to you?
yep.
I think
Thank
I
you.
can gift it to you. Okay.
Thank
Just
you.
like with the things George was talking about, I hope you'll send it to everybody, not just to Pat. Wonderful.
Yeah,
Pat.
but I'll
Okay,
send you
would
mine
be
anyway.
great.
All right.
Thank you. That would
Great.
be wonderful.
Okay.
Nielsen for the stack.
Okay, Barbara.
Really fast. I neglected an area that is of great concern to many of us because I got so excited about the UN programs that have names and conventions. And that is, we deal with human trafficking. And we're a home for human trafficking, anti-trafficking, including organ trafficking. And we have some people who have done a lot of work on it and are still interested in it. So that's the other area that we consider our own. So thank you.
Oh my goodness, there's so much. Oh, there are so many areas of need. I know here on the Cape, we need to recruit new members. We need new blood and energy. The 5 of us that were in the 4th of July parade, we made a little smash, but we don't have parades every day. So, I mean, it was easy for Pat and I to ride on a truck. The other people walked, but I don't know. So
Someday we can share the pictures, the photos of us.
There's
Oh,
an
riding
you
on the
have to
truck.
share them. You have to
there's an
share them.
article in the New Peace and Freedom with the
Oh, yeah.
pictures. Yeah. So take a look at that. There's also, I haven't seen it yet, but Alicia Davis, one of our members, said that the article on advancing human rights was in it too. So I haven't seen, I hope they deleted a lot of the crazy things that should have been deleted, but I wrote it. So we'll have to see how it comes
Yay.
out. Well, thank you
Well,
very
you're
much.
done?
Yeah,
Our meeting at an end?
Yeah, we're meeting's at an end, and we'll meet at 8 o'clock again, the 4th Tuesday of the month next month.
Thank you.
Okay, then.
Thank
Bye.
you.
all.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
everybody.